if you guys don't know what the Bechdel test is, the Bechdel test was something created a long time ago in which they can rate women's representation on screen. The simple concept being, are two women shown talking to one another in a movie or television show, and do they talk about something other than men? If that sounds incredibly annoying and something made by activists, you would be right. Well, they have now expanded on that. Look, there's all sorts of versions of this that go into other levels of representation. Well, now, guys, there is one for climate change. Climate change version of the Bechdel test released and applied to this year's Oscar nominees, with Barbie and Nyad, which I have not seen or didn't know anything about, among passing films. Color me shocked that Barbie passed this. Can you imagine anything more annoying than a world in which you're given a list of checklists and things that you're allowed to talk about in your piece of art, right? I'm going to actually read you this from the actual website. This is insane. So this says, the climate reality check, a Bechdel-Wallace test for a world on fire. So the propaganda isn't super thick right off the bat, right? A world on fire. So it says, it's happening here and now, not elsewhere or in the future. It touches every aspect of life, but the reality is still largely absent from our on-screen stories. The climate reality check is a simple tool to evaluate whether our climate reality is being represented in films, TV shows, and other narratives. It's inspired by the Bechdel-Wallace test, which measures gender representation. I haven't even gotten to the infuriating part yet. I tweeted about this earlier. Who is this test for? The climate reality check is a tool that will allow writers and industry professionals to interrogate their own stories, audiences, to see whether Hollywood is representing their reality on screen, and researchers to measure whether climate change is included in any group of stories or if representation is increasing over time. Let's just go back to the words there. It is their job now to interrogate you and me and the people making this stuff. You're supposed to interrogate your own story to decide whether you have put enough climate change propaganda in your movie or television show.
Faux progressive outrage ends when we refuse to be shamed by these demons.
Yes.
Like, I will not be shamed by you.
Just laugh at them.
I don't, not even laugh. It's like, remove them from your life completely. Like, I don't respect you. Mm-hmm. Your opinion of me and from my I'm translating a word from English literally, from Spanish literally. Your presumption of my internal state is wrong, and I think it's a reflection of yours. Yep. You're deeply disturbed. Leave me alone.
This is where I talk about where, like, a lot of times one of the things that seems to be increasingly on my mind these days is the disparate realities we find ourselves in with other people, because the internet has allowed all of us to live in our own bubbles. And the problem is the people who live in a bubble like theirs is they have a lot of institutional power to then force the thoughts in their bubble onto you. That's a problem. The other issue I have with this is the person who created the Bechdel test, the original one that was about women's representation, was an artist, okay? As stupid as I think it is, and the term was created as a joke, it was not actually meant to be like a tool to be used to measure art, right?
She was inspired by Ophelia from Hamlet.
Like, my issue with it is, like, the term initially was created by a creative person, right? As a joke. It is no longer the world where we're seeing these tools being created by other creatives who are actually aware of how to make things. They're being created by activists. And there's nothing worse on planet Earth than an activist with a ton of power in a creative field.
Who's funding this? Is this from Hollywood or is this an EPA thing?
So this is the problem. This is a nonprofit that's doing this. The problem is what's going to end up happening is eventually laws will be passed where this stuff will have to be tied into storytelling. Similar to how California only gives tax breaks to certain studios and certain projects that have representative, have a representative showing of the California demographics in their movies and televisions. It's tied to the funding they get. Right? Mm-hmm. So eventually, it sounds crazy now, but a couple of years from now, as the propaganda grows and grows and grows, you will start seeing legislation passed in which you want tax credits to make your stupid big budget blockbuster motion picture. Well, you better include a bunch of garbage about climate change. Otherwise, you're not going to get those tax breaks, and it's going to force them to either do it or move, or produce elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And Hollywood's not going to do that.
You sound like a conspiracy theorist.
I am.
That would never happen.
That would never happen. So it's a company called Good Energy, a story consultancy that aims to simplify climate representation on screen. Look, what I want now, I just want all the bad, I want all of the bad guys to just not be like climate change isn't real. I want them to be pro climate change. This is my hill to die on. I believe that the funniest thing you could do is have every character just be like, look, the planet could do with being a little bit warmer, okay?
Yeah.
I want them to just laugh at them, okay?
So actually, as an environmental, I have a bachelor's degree in environmental studies. Can I comment on this? Okay, so
No.
all right, well, too bad. So the two things I remember the most from my college days and my studies were, one of the first things I learned in Environmental Studies 101 was that climate change has been going on since the beginning of the Earth's existence. It has always happened. It will always continue to happen. It is not man-made. It is not being propelled by man. It is inevitable. It is just part of the Earth's cycle. The wording of climate change, and these scientists know this. They know this. I mean, I was an environmental, I was a basic, I have a bachelor's degree from 10 years ago, and I remember this. So it's BS. I'm here to say that officially today. And then on kind of a tangent, the other thing that I always stuck out to me, which is kind of what woke me up to everything, was I had a friend talking to me about chemtrails and the clouds not being real. And this is 2012-ish. And then one of the first things I learned in my environmental studies class was about geoengineering, which was them creating what looked very much like the photos of chemtrails I had seen in the sky in order to manipulate the weather. So the average person is not contributing to climate change at the end of the day. That's just a fact. And it's an inarguable fact.
And in America, until China and India get those regulations under control, it's almost a non-issue for us here.
Oh, yeah, no, because, they're able to pollute as much as they want, and we don't. And the pollution doesn't stay in one place. And at the end of the day, the Earth will figure it out.
Here, and here's if you were wondering how this would be employed in movies and television, it says, how do I use this test? The climate reality check is exactly that, a reality check for narratives. You can use it to test any story set on Earth which takes place now or in the recent past or in the future. It doesn't apply to high fantasy or to stories set on other planets or in the distant past. To use the climate reality check, just apply these two statements to any narrative. Here's what it says. Climate change exists. Yes, you can measure whether the climate crisis exists in the world of the story as shown through impacts and solutions. Perhaps the story portrays an unprecedented heat wave, a new story about the rising sea levels, or graffiti concerning climate change. What artist wants to use your freaking stupid checklist so that they can get across your message? This is their art. Go create your own art, you losers. This makes I just can't imagine being somebody who's actually out there trying to create and bring something to the world, right? And then this person saying, and this might even be somebody who believes in it, right? I'm not even saying this has to be from somebody who doesn't agree with them. You could be making your own story right here, but you're look, but I'm an actual artist and it doesn't fit within the confines of this story that I'm telling you right now.
Right. It's not it's not a bad thing to push not littering and taking care of our Earth.
No,
that's not what I'm saying at all.
Start telling them to litter. I don't care.
Just make a documentary about it. It doesn't have to be in every movie.
Yes.
That's all.
This is the other one. So it says a character knows it. That's the other criteria. A character's awareness of climate change can be demonstrated through dialogue, narration, actions, or visual imagery. Perhaps a character's narration establishes the climate context. A character is shown reading a news article about climate change, or there is a conversation about the extreme weather. So even the most inane, boring, unproblematic conversations. It's like when they're talking about there's a Twisters movie coming out this year. I'm not even kidding you. A remake or of the movie Twister, or it's a continuation, whatever. Okay.
By the way, for context, Brett has been worked up about this since
I have.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're making a movie about Twisters, right? Which is theoretically very, very stupid because first of all, you have no Bill Paxton, and without Bill Paxton, it's not Twister. Anyways, right? Fine, but the trailer actually looks kind of fun. The trailer shows a bunch of modern, basically climate change. It's not climate change propaganda. What they're showing are just natural disasters happening, and it's a cool looking visual. But then they're talking about in the trailers, they're talking in the article saying they're going to talk about climate change in this movie. Nobody on planet Earth wants to watch a movie where a dude drives headlong into the two twisters, into two tornadoes, and then gets lectured on climate change. That is not a thing. There is not a person on earth that wants to watch that. And they are so disconnected from the average. Again, this is what I keep saying. Everybody is in their own reality now, and they think that the people that are in their group chats and the people that they talk to online that work in the same stupid bubble as them want to go to a movie and be sold this stuff. It's edutainment. Nobody liked edutainment when we were kids. Nobody is going to like edutainment now. It's preachy, it's stupid, and it's low effort. Okay? Like, you can, and here's the other thing. Like, you don't have to be, I see a lot these days about media literacy, right? You don't have to even be super media literate to know when you're being fed propaganda. You just know.
Yeah.
Right? The storytelling leaves its structure, and suddenly a character is talking in a way that they wouldn't normally talk about. Everyone can, it's a bullshit detector, and everyone has it when it comes to topics like this.
It breaks immersion immediately.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, who wants that? Like, I can't
like in the
imagine
Batman was like...
Yes. That's maybe the best example.
What was the line?
It was the line about white privilege, which in the rest of the film, all of the dialogue and the rest of the movie is evergreen, and there isn't another bit of another line about this. Again, I saw somebody in the chat mentioning the movie 2012. Thank God that these rules and this bullshit didn't exist when movies like The Day After Tomorrow were made, 2012 were made. The movie The Day After Tomorrow is literally about a guy predicting climate change and then climate change happening instantly, and it's actually fun and entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope Shane Gillis and Sydney Sweeney SNL back to back is away from the beast being like, listen, we're gonna tone this down a bit.
Yeah.
Being a reprehensible human being is not good for profits.
So it says climate change. It says, why should you use this test? Well, tell me why. Why should I use this test? This is about highlighting authentic stories. They're not authentic. I'm going to stop you right there. They're not authentic, because if they were authentic, they wouldn't need you to give them a checklist on where to put them. That's not authentic. That's the opposite of authenticity. So I digress. This is about highlighting the authentic stories that reflect the reality we're all living in and help us navigate what it means to be human in the age of climate change.
Beautiful.
Please tell me, what does it mean to be a human?
It's
I've forgotten.
It's anti-art, okay? It's awful, and like I just can't look. This is why I always talk about like when movies get made, right? I always talk about how it's kind of a minor miracle anytime you get a good movie made, because it takes thousands of people, but it takes a director with a strong vision, strong writing, a great casting director who can bring just the right people in to make your movie, to bring your movie to life. It takes all of these things to get a movie made, and 99 times out of 100 they suck. Okay, you get a couple of good movies a year, and those should be celebrated. Now imagine you have to be like religiously tied to demographics casting and storytelling based on narrative. How do you expect any of that to flourish when we're being sold the idea that you have to include this stuff lest the world collapse in on itself?
I think it truly only causes more racism.
And
Like honest, and I gotta be real. Like,
Dave's like, that's the thing about climate change. It causes more racism.
No, I meant you were talking about the hiring policy.
Yeah.
And honestly, like now when I see that Twitter and that honestly it's becoming like a right-wing echo chamber, I'm just so, but and I feel pity because I feel it's they're acting against progressivism so hard that they're becoming the monsters that progressives like said they are, and it's, I don't know, but I don't like it either. I'm kind of sick of it. Like,
I'm just ready for it all to be like, and again, here's the thing. The problem is, I don't think there's actually, and this is going to be a bit of a black pill, so I apologize.
Go on.
I don't think that there's a way back from this in general. And what I mean by that is not within this typical Hollywood structure, right? What it is you have been made critically conscious by the fact that these things get talked about, the interviews that have been done, interviews that talk about, we have these hiring policies, we want to do this, this, and this, or we're going to talk about climate change, we're going to do this and this. Now that you look for it, you're critically conscious of it, and if at the very least, you almost see it in a lot of places where it doesn't exist, and then your brain kicks in, you're like, No, that's not what that is. And it's kind of like the idea, like when people ask, what is wokeness? And somebody says, like, it's like pornography. You know it when you see it, right? You know it when you see it. But the problem is, depending on how worked up you are about a topic, you can start to see it places it isn't. We talked about Madam Web. I saw a lot of people calling Madam Web a woke film. I said, no, I just think it was a really, really bad film. And of course, my standards for this, I tend to be on the lefter scale on these things. Like I see a lot of things as just bad and not necessarily as awful as a lot of people others see them, or I don't see as much ideology as they see behind it. To be fair, that's completely interpretive to each person, to each their own. Fine. Right? But you're going to have to break away from the Hollywood structure entirely if you want to stop thinking about these things. You're going to have to start having movies made in other places. And even then, you're still going to be like, is it going to bleed into this? Is it going to bleed into this? So I really do believe in a lot of ways they win either way because they make you care about it. And that's almost more heartbreaking.
I think the only way out of this is like, as a generation, this is a gray pill.
Yeah. A gray pill.
Yeah. So I think as a generation, we have to take the L that...
Sorry, Gen Alpha, it's up to you.
It won't. No, but we have to shape the humans that will make art again. We have to have children. We have to love them.
Yes.
We have to, share the world for what it is and for what we'd like them to be, but not in this insufferable, holier than thou way that progressives are. By the way, I will always say progressives. You're progressives. Woke. Like I will. You will not. I know. But to the audience that's new to me, like it's a mind. It's a mind war. Anyway, a word war, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's to have another generation, to love them, to guide them, and to believe them that with the proper guidance they can do it. I don't believe in us anymore.
I think that's a great point. I think the lack of people having babies is why people have so much free time and they entertain themselves through the internet. And instead of having something, they want to raise you, they want to influence you. And instead of having something that they can actually invest in that's distracting, that takes up their time, they spend all their time arguing about things like this on the internet.
All right, and before we finish this topic, of the nominated films this year, 23%, 3 films, passed the climate change reality check. That was Barbie, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and Niad. I don't remember what it was in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, but I might have just been so hypnotized by Tom Cruise's awesomeness that I just forgot.
Is that the new one?
Yeah, it was the one that came out last
Is it good?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, it was long. I liked it more than a lot of other people, but to be fair, I'm a Mission Impossible fan. And
You're a Tom Cruise
fan.
fan.
I liked it a lot too, though. Yeah. I like him. I'm not a huge fan, but it was a good movie.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.